When it comes to the selection of a tenant for a property, we're hired experts hired and retained by the owner to manage the property and make a good decision for them. When the owner wants to get involved in the day-to-day decisions, both of tenant selection and sometimes of maintenance, it really kind of clips our wings, and it can put us all in a tough situation from a legal standpoint as well as a practical standpoint. Legally speaking, we're bound to uphold consistent qualifying criteria for properties. And let's say an owner doesn't like a particular type of person, he can put us in a really tough situation by asking us to have a say in the tenant selection. He can actually make us violate fair housing standards. So we ask that the owner agree to our qualifying criteria up front. We tell them what we're looking for from a tenant, and we ask them to agree to that as opposed to being involved in the actual selection of a tenant. Additionally, we ask them to trust us. They're hiring us as their professionals to make good decisions for them. And that goes to, speaks to issues like maintenance too. We ask them to trust us to find the best deal from a maintenance vendor. And not only the best deal from a price standpoint, but the best vendor who's actually going to do work that's going to last. We don't want a cheap job that has to be redone 6 months from now. So all of these things are things that we do every day that we're very proficient at, and we ask the owners trust us in the process of hiring us to make the best decisions for them. A lot of owners these days are facing foreclosure or in pre-foreclosure, and they've moved out of their homes. They're done with it. Some of the clients that we have are actually taking the strategy of renting those homes, and it's a pretty good idea. By renting that product, they can help honor their fiduciary duty to protect that property, and that's one of the very important factors in there. When you abandon a house and leave it vacant, then it's going to decline. It's going to deteriorate. The lawn's going to overgrow. Vandals will break in and steal. When you actually have that property rented, though, you're really taking care of that property in a way that is responsible. And so if you're short selling your home, consider strongly the responsible approach of renting that property and thereby preserving the asset. Also know that by renting that home, you can provide yourself with some income to provide ongoing maintenance for that property, to deal with things that are going to inevitably arise, and then of course to deal with whatever legal expenses and real estate fees might result from that short sale process. So definitely, renting a home that's in foreclosure is a very practical solution for a lot of owners these days, and they should probably consider it as an option. A lot of owners these days have gotten into the foreclosure process and then decided to rent their property, or have rented it and can't afford to keep up with their payments and enter foreclosure. Now, the Dodd-Frank law that was passed back in July of last year offers your tenant a lot of protection if an owner is in that position. The tenant's lease will be honored according to federal law now. So if you've leased that tenant any time before the home is actually sold at the courthouse, then the duration of that lease will be honored for that tenant. That gives the owner a lot of protection because they know they're not doing a disservice or a non-disclosure, really a violation of duty to their tenant. And it also does the tenant a great service too, because they can stay in a home for the duration of the lease that they've planned on.